All I think about these days, all I think about these days is getting at that goal that's in my heart. I need a reason to believe, yeah, maybe a cure for my disease.
That song is by Blaine Long. My name is Matthew Blades. Meet my friends.
Hi, it's Tim.
And Beth from the Mulhausen Group Real Estate.
We are so proud to sponsor another episode of Learn from People Who Lived It. You can catch us at tmgphoenix.com.
That's a good group of people right there. Hi, it's Matthew Blades, host of Learn from People Who Lived It. And a reminder before we get into today's show that each of these episodes is presented uninterrupted with the support of the Mulhausen Group, with the support of ASI or Advanced Systems Integrations. They design and install cutting-edge audio and visual equipment. So if you're on the IT staff or you're the IT director, please reach out to ASI. This audio visual integrator has offices in Minnesota and in Scottsdale and 2 decades of experience. And the cool thing about them, they pay real close attention to that last 5%, which is the one that drives you and I crazy. We've got a link to ASI in our show description, or you can go there yourself by visiting asi-av.com.
Welcome to another episode of Learn from People Who Lived It.
Yes, welcome back. It's part 2 with Chad, and he was getting ready to talk to us about some non-traditional therapies that have been successful for him. Specifically what?
For me, it's ketamine. And to dig deeper, and we'll just rewind a little bit, 2 years ago, I almost took my life. We're talking gun loaded, probably 1.5 pounds of pressure on the trigger, probably another pound, and it's over. I just wasn't in a good place. It had nothing to do with alcohol. Like, I was sober. I was so beat up mentally. I think I finally broke. I was so hard on myself through childhood, through not finishing, my military service and Ranger career the way I wanted to, through failed jobs, right? Through failed relationships. It just finally took a toll on it. And, then I beat myself up for I feel that I'm not a good father. But everyone telling me, like, I wish I had a dad like you. So, at that point I went in and had some in-service patient stuff for about 2 weeks, and it was pretty intense. And I'm just not big on, the set in the chair, regurgitate, rip the Band-Aid off, here's some more pills, right? Because we did that already. It didn't work for me. So my wife did some research, and she found ketamine and sent me some articles, and I started reading about it. And lo and behold, I came across a Joe Rogan podcast that talked about it. And we all know
a lot of people attribute that podcast to the awakening of this stuff, for sure.
100%. So in a roundabout way, I guess you'd say I could almost thank Joe Rogan for saving my life, right? Because it was that and a couple of guests that he had on that talked about, psychedelics and things of that nature and how it's being used for depression. And then I started reading John Hopkins studies. I started reading Harvard studies, and I was like, oh, well, I'm kind of in that 1/3 where SSRIs and things don't work. So what the hell? Let's give this a whirl. So I've been doing ketamine now for almost 2 years. And I would say probably about my 7th ketamine treatment is where I finally kind of had a breakthrough. Like I said, I look at things a little bit through a slower lens now.
What does a breakthrough look like? What does that mean?
Man, so many different things, from just looking across the street, like the sky's bluer, right? Like the trees are greener. The smells are stronger. It feels like everything is starting to kind of connect. I'd walk her in the backyard, and I'm super anal OCD guy, right? So got to have a perfect house, got to have a perfect backyard. Meanwhile, I've got a 3-year-old and a 4.5-year-old boy that just tear everything up. And the other week, I was taking garbage out and I was cleaning the backyard, and I kind of came around the corner, and the way the yard was set up and the light hit it and everything, I was like, man, I got a pretty damn good life, and it was then that I was like, man, like, why am I so stressed out over stupid shit? Like, it doesn't matter. Like, enjoy and be present. And if I need a 20-minute walk, go take a 20-minute walk. It's okay to take that time. If you need a nap, guess what? Go take a nap. It's okay.
Yeah.
So I used to be one of those 1%ers too, man. Like, I wanted to be here. I wanted to be very successful. I want to be but what is the definition of success?
It's very unnatural at first, I think, isn't it? Didn't you find that to be true? Didn't you feel like just insanely selfish and almost have a hard time doing it?
I did. Very easy example is the dishes in the sink, and my wife, she reminds me, she's like, hey, the dishes can stay. We'll clean them tonight. Stay with the boys, wrestle with the boys. They need your time now. Yeah. And I started realizing that even on a couple months ago, I went golfing with some buddies, and one of my buddies was just ragging on me constantly. And I kind of sat there and I was like, you know what? I don't need to spend all this money to come golf, have drinks with my guys, and be ragged on all day. I was like, you know what? My boys have a small opportunity to be raised by their dad, and I have a small opportunity to repay that favor, to be a great dad. I don't need this shit. Yeah. So I just started doing different things, that like I reprioritized a lot of stuff within the last year and a half of my life.
It's important to do, because I think, Troy, and you can speak to this a little bit, but it was my experience coming out of retreat that some people must exit the game. Some people have to exit your life.
Yes.
Because they don't fit in anymore. Troy, would you mind elaborating on that a little bit?
Well, I do. I think sometimes there's a time in our lives when there is a necessary ending, when we've recognized that there are people outside of us that aren't treating us the way we deserve to be treated, with respect and love. That I think we do need to walk away. And I think we do need to speak up as well. I think we need to draw boundaries and make them very clear to teach the world how we deserve to be treated. It's really not that dissimilar from how we train a dog. When a dog jumps up on the counter, it's no, get off. When a dog jumps up on a guest, no, get off. It's very similar in how we create boundaries when we start to recognize those things in our life that are not in our best interest to be around. Like Chad, like you, with a buddy ripping on you. No, if our friendship is important as it is for me to be a friend to you, then I'm not going to be treated this way. And if this is the way you're going to choose to treat me, then we're not going to be in a relationship, because I'm here to take care of who I am. I'm here to take care of myself. And I love what I'm hearing, Chad, about, this idea of perfection, this idea of being better than anyone else. There is only one Chad, there is only one Matthew, and there is only one listener that's listening right now. And you are the best person in the world right now, whether you're listening to this or you're participating in this. There's no one else in the world that can do what you do, and you do it better than anyone else in the world. That's the truth.
Yeah.
And so creating boundaries and teaching others how we deserve respect is also something that's really helpful for us to do with our children, our daughters and our sons, to stand up for what's right, to stand up for the values, to stand up for the virtues, for those beliefs that include others. I think it's really helpful. It's amazing. Your story is amazing, Chad. And I love hearing where you're at with it, because you don't have to be perfect to be loved or to be lovable. Yeah. You don't have to be perfect to be lovable. You don't have to be better than anyone else to be lovable. You don't have to push people down to make yourself look better to be lovable. It just is not the way it works.
Yeah, and thank you for saying that, because that's where I feel I'm at. I finally recognize, I guess I would say this is chapter 10 of a very long book. This is kind of where I kind of switch into a different superhero. I wish there was things I could have done better and cleaner, in my 40 earlier years, but same thing. Those decisions, those pitfalls, those hardnesses, they made me who I am. They made me learn, but now I'm learning something different. Like you said, I'm learning to love myself. And with that, it's making me look at people in a whole new manner, how can I help you? It's not, so much what's wrong with you, but now I'm in the understanding of what happened to you.
And how can you unravel that to get and peel back the layers to discover what we'll ultimately discover is that we're far more all alike than we are different.
Yep, 100%. And the more I can learn about this in my 40s and ongoing years, is it makes me a better coach for my sons.
Absolutely.
It helps me recognize maybe some pitfalls they're running into, or maybe some, if my kids throw a fit, it's still kind of a thing for me. I try to take a deep breath, but I try to hold space for them and say, you know what, you want to kick and scream, we'll close the door and do your thing. And 10 out of 10 times, 10 minutes later, they're crawling into your lap and they're hugging you and they just want to be held. So I'm learning to let them have tantrums that normally I probably would have had my own tantrum and yelled at them, like, what in the hell are you doing? Go to your room. But I'm like, they can't control their emotions. Shit, I'm 44 and I can't control mine half the time. So if a 4-year-old can't, I sure the hell don't need to be pressuring them anymore.
Well, what a gift you're giving your sons too. I mean, to give them the gift of not having to be perfect.
Yeah.
How when you look at them, eye level, congruent, and level with them, and telling them that they are enough.
Yeah.
We think, there's this idea that if we do that, they'll never become what they're capable of becoming. And that is false. It doesn't work that way. When we stare at them, when we look at them and appreciate them and validate them for trying something new in their life and celebrating that, build self-esteem. And eventually they find themselves in a career or in school subjects that really connect with them, and they thrive. And that's ultimately, and they thrive with positive self-esteem. And that's what it's about. It's about creating these children with positive self-esteem.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more, and more of a reflection, kind of on that with Matt to kind of circle back around to that question he asked of what is slowed down, or what was that awakening. And for me, it's even as small as, looking at my son and rubbing his back while he goes to sleep, and just looking at him as an individual little human being and going, man, this kid has a full life ahead of him. He's got to dodge a lot of shit, and hopefully I can teach him to the best of my ability to dodge those things. And that's, that for me is, again, where the ketamine has really helped me. It's helped me slow down and recognize and know this is a moment in time I'm never getting back. He's only 4 once.
Right.
When I was in my retreat, it wasn't Troy, but there was another man in my retreat who came to me at one point and he said, you're a transitional character in your lineage. Believe it. Everything about you screams transitional character in your lineage. And I feel that with you a little bit, Chad. You're a guy who is really, for whatever reason, you're the man. You've been tasked with transforming this thing and transitioning your family in a way, breaking generational cycles, not, beating your kids and making them feel like they had to be perfect like you had to. You're doing all of these things that on the big scale are going to be the most important things that you could possibly do for your child. And it almost feels to me like you're intentional about it, which I even dig some more.
Yeah, I am. I'm very intentional about it now. And giving an example about that is I'm a huge Chicago Bears fan, diehard. I mean, I'm a guy that would fly out once a year to Chicago or over here on the West Coast. I'd pay for the ticket, the hotel, the whole 9 yards, right? I had every damn piece of apparel you could imagine. I had memorabilia all over the place. Like, the Bears are my team, right? I didn't miss a game. If we're driving home, it was on the radio, right?
Got it.
They're gone. They're out of my life. I'm done with it. And what kind of brought me to that is, if they're on and they're playing well and it's a Monday night, sure, I'll have the game on, but I don't watch it with intent anymore. And I packaged up a lot of my Bears apparel and I sent it up to a buddy of mine in Montana and said, hey man, I know you got a man cave full of this stuff, so enjoy. And I just kind of came to the point of that's 4 or 5 hours on a couch watching a game. That's 4 or 5 hours I could spend with my family. It's 4 or 5 hours with my sons. And so, I'm not telling you I want to kick the NFL or any sports arena, or what you like doing out of your life, but it was just a change for me. And that was one of the intentional changes is I've got other things to do on a Sunday. I don't need to sit on the couch or a bar for 5 hours to watch a game. The Bears don't pay me. I've never received a check from them. So
That's fantastic. That's so fantastic. Well, Troy, if you don't have anything, I would love to ask him a little bit more about what he's doing now. Do you have anything you'd like to ask him before we move on?
I just want to make one point too. And I think it's interesting, Chad and Matthew, about how a lot of times guys will get wrapped up and they'll get their identities wrapped up in what team they're rooting for. And I think when you let go of the identity of the team that you bleed, I think we have to be very careful about our language as well. I bleed for such and such a team. Our language is very powerful, and we have to be very cautious about what we're willing to bleed for. And with an identity and your willingness to even let go of your identity as a Bears fan, and thank God, because they're brutal.
They're horrible. So not only are they bad, but I waste all this time and money and apparel stuff on them as well. So,
but I think that I absolutely love hearing you talk about your sons, because they're so lucky to have you as their father, and for you to let go of that time that really is just not important, to be able to do what you're doing for your kids. Chad, that's a fantastic example, I would say, of a guy who has come so far, and it's just to let them know, and that you are enough as you are. So helpful.
No, I appreciate that. Thank you.
Chad, will your family and friends be surprised by anything that you've talked about here?
Yes, I think so.
Okay.
I think so. A lot of friends probably surprised. My wife, she's heard it all. The two friends that I told my burn-in about, and how that was pivotal in my military career, just heard it literally on Sunday night. So I'm learning to set with that. No, you know what? I made the decisions. It's okay. Like, I am who I am. I'm not a bad person. Shit happened. It's time to move on. The past is not me. This is me. Let's move forward, kind of a deal. So I think there'll be some people that are very surprised at, kind of the big picture of stuff.
Dr. Frank Bavacqua likes to say to everybody, there's a reason that the windshield is bigger than the rear view mirror, because what is in front of you is critically more important than what, is behind you. You're a man on a mission now, and I want to spend a few minutes talking about Mental Joe. You can see it if you're watching the video. There's a little, there's a little, what do you call that? Your logo right behind you. It's a cool logo, man, but because it's podcast world too, describe the logo and what it looks like, and then tell us a little bit about what your hope is for Mental Joe.
Yeah, so the logo, for those of you just listening, is it's a soldier that is sitting in the yoga pose. And again, this tells you how not deep into the yoga world I am. I don't know what the pose is called even. But setting in the, whatever you want to call it, it's on the t-shirt too, if you could see, with two rifles in the background. And then from there, we kind of use the body of the soldier to mix in, whether it's the flag or camo, or we're going to make state shirts to represent each state. We just did a collaboration with State 48 here in Arizona. So we just did a collaboration with them. So yeah, it's very cool. I'm biased maybe, but everyone we've sold shirts to so far, and everyone we've seen out, like, they love the logo. They love the tagline. Our tagline is "Conquer the Battle Within." And then the other one is "Apparel with a Purpose." So that's where we're at, and that's where Mental Joe's headed to, and hopefully we will be a big player in the American apparel world someday.
Because the goal is really to use your money that you make from Mental Joe to help out other soldiers. You and I have had conversations where, you have big dreams. You have big dreams of soldiers being able to write to you and say, "I need help," and you write them a check to go get treatment. You really have big dreams for this.
100% I do. And it sucks being the small guy on the totem pole right now, because no one's really giving me the time of day. So for us to be talking like this, thank you so much. Like, this means a lot, because I know this will just help, get our message out there as well. But the goal is, it simply is profits to help out people, to get mental health. Again, that's one, nonprofit that I donated many, many years to, and probably thousands of dollars, was Wounded Warrior. And if you're familiar with that story, a lot of the CEOs and executives took a lot of that donation money and took private trips and did all sorts of stuff. So, and that sat wrong with me for a long, long time, and it still does. So hence the Mental Joe, right? Now, if I can find a way to get this apparel made here in the US to give just one more kicker of coolness for us, that's where we're going. We want to have healing camps throughout the United States. And whether we build those healing camps or we partner with people, we want these camps to be full of non-traditional modalities, whether it's TRE, whether it's yoga, whether it's tapping, right? Whether it's there's a company out there called Neurowave, right? And they have this product that they put on the brain. It does a bunch of brain sensory stuff. And it helps with PTSD and anxiety and depression, equestrian therapy. I want this healing camp to have every modality possible in the non-traditional sense. So if you're not a yogi, you can go try TRE. Or if you're not into horses, you know what? Maybe you're into dogs and we have dog therapy. And then if you want to try something more, we'll have the ketamine, or we'll have guides there that do the psilocybin or the psychedelic type stuff. So I want to be very intentional with what we do. And I want to write verbiage into our bylaws in our business plan that says, hey, if you're a CEO of Mental Joe, you're only allowed to make X amount of dollars a year. And there's lots of nonprofits out there where CEOs are getting paid $6-7 million a year. I look at that like that's money wasted. I don't need 10 houses. I don't need 20 trucks. I don't need all, you know what I mean? Why?
Yeah. Well, I think nobody's under the illusion that you don't want to make a living off of it, and that's perfectly acceptable and allowed, right? Troy is somebody who I'd love to bring in because you can speak to Troy. You're a business owner. You have been for much of your life, right? And you're somebody who owns a place of healing. And so, I mean, what does he need to know as he starts this journey? I feel like he could lean on you a little bit here.
Well, I definitely admire what you're doing with it. I'm also a believer in transparency when it comes to compensation. I'm of the opinion that a CEO really doesn't need to make more than 6 times the amount that the bottom person on the lower rung makes. So it's a movement. It's happening. People are becoming transparent with what their compensation is, and I think we need to be, as consumers, mindful of this in the products that we're choosing to buy. The sickness is I have my money. I'm a self-made man, and I'm going to spend my money how I want to. And there's a different way. There's another way, a more balanced and harmonious way, where we're not devaluing someone that's cleaning the house like your mother was. She is the CEO of your family. In fact, she's the CEO, the CFO, the COO. She's all of those things in one mom, which is phenomenal. And I think we take a look at that. I encourage you to continue that process and even developing that more.
We've got to just be right with each other.
Yeah, I want to close with this question. You got a tagline for your apparel line, and it's called "Conquering the Battle Within." I don't think any of us really ever conquer the battle. We sort of learn to live with the sound of our record. But when you think about that tagline, "Conquering the Battle Within," what does that meant for you specifically, Chad?
Whether it's, alcoholism, whether it was popping pills, whether it was relationships, whether it was just learning to love myself and give myself time. All of these little things were all battles that I personally am conquering. And I still conquer them day in and day out. And I still fight these things, continuously. So for me, it's an ongoing battle because I'm trying to conquer the battle.
I personally think it's a great tagline, because I think it brings awareness to what we're thinking in our lives, what kind of action we're taking in our lives. And I think when we're aware and we've done the reflection and the contemplation in our life, we can begin to make better decisions, thoughtful decisions. We begin to have choice, and we can become an agent for change in our own lives, which is what you've done, Chad, which is powerful.
Thank you.
Yeah, man. And I'm telling you, I'm just sitting here digesting the last 60 minutes of this whole thing. And I just want to say thanks for not pulling the trigger a couple of years ago. We would have really missed out on a great guy.
Amen.
And your kids would have missed out on an incredible father. Right. And I'm real happy that you decided to not make that decision, Chad.
And I appreciate that. Thank you.
Yeah.
Guys,
Yeah.
If I could just say one thing, I want to, for anybody who's listening, who's having thoughts like this, I think it's so important to share the Veteran Suicide Hotline. This can be used to text, this can be used to call, but if anyone's thinking about harming themselves, please reach out. Reach out. The number is 1-800-273-8255.
Thank you very much, Chad, for sharing your incredible journey and really for just putting yourself out there for us. I can't thank you enough for just being you, man, and letting us know what that's all about.
No, and I appreciate it. It's tough to sit with sometimes, but the more I talk about it, the easier it is to understand and know that it was the past. And like you said, that windshield's a lot bigger in front of me, so we need to keep pushing forward. So I appreciate the time. I appreciate the invite, and thank you for allowing me to share my story and talk about Mental Joe.
More to come with this guy for sure. Troy, anything before we let him go?
Just a pleasure and an honor to meet you, Chad.
Amen.
Hi, it's Tim.
And Beth from the Mulhausen Group Real Estate.
Thank you for listening to Learn from People Who Lived It.
You can find them online at tmgphoenix.com. Thank you so much for spending a little time with us. We're about to listen to the lead track off the new album from Blaine Long called Bacon. A quick reminder that asi-av.com, that's that audio-visual company I was telling you about. This woman-owned company has more than 2 decades of experience, and if you're on the IT staff and you've got your next build-out, please reach out to these folks. They work with schools, they work with corporations, they work with just about everybody, and they pay really close attention to that last 5%. Visit them online at asi-av.com. Okay, Blaine Long and Bacon off the new album, Royal.
She bit my heart, she didn't break it. Well, she took a big bite, said it tastes like bacon. Lips like Presley, moves like Elvis. You forget about your heart when she shakes her pelvis. Hey. Oh, we got nights to dream and wings to fly. Still young, but not tonight. I wouldn't have it any other way. We got gravy boats and mortgage payments. It's been so long since I've seen the rain. It's where I'll be when I die. Where I'll be when I die. We got nights to dream and wings to fly. We're still young, but not tonight. I wouldn't have it any other way.
We have 3 goals with Learn from People Who Lived It. 1. To help you feel less alone. 2. Encourage you to seek out a coach, a therapist, a church. Anyone who can help you get through your journey and find some healing. 3. When you're ready, share your story with us.